Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Touch Base Tuesday. I'm Michael Cooper with Parkway Church in the beautiful city of Madison, Mississippi. Recently I left my office and I was going to lunch, but I didn't know what I really had an appetite for. I just knew I was going to go, so I went out on the main strip there, Madison, and I saw this little restaurant, and I remember they got a couple of things that I like on the menu. So I pulled in the parking lot, got out of my car, and at the same time a guy was coming up on the other side. We walked to the front door, but there were two things that I noticed when I went to the front door that was interesting. The first thing on the front door was a lockbox like realtors use. And I thought, well, that's kind of strange. And then the second thing that was interesting was that it had a big neon sign that said open. No, that's not unusual. But the unusual thing was when I pulled on the door, the front door, it was locked. So I thought. And me and the guy looked at each other and we kind of shrugged our shoulders and said, okay, it must be still drive-through only. And he went his way, I went back to my car, and I was going back to the car, and the guy said, hey. And I turned around and people were going through that door. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? And so I turned around, went back, and we both went back, and I pulled on that door, but I said, in my mind, I saw somebody go through that door, and I know it's open. And so that gave me the confidence to pull on that door. It's stuck, jammed, whatever you want to call it. But I pulled on it and I went in. And when I went in, I was able to get my favorite things that I had remembered on the menu. They took care of me. I dined sufficiently and left and went back to the office. And I got to thinking later about that, about doors, open doors. Sometimes doors are closed. Sometimes doors are locked for a reason, and I use the spiritual application now, is that sometimes even doors may seemingly be locked, but they're just stuck, and we need to make the effort to pull on that door. But going back to my thinking about the days gone by when I was being just as a child. Years ago, most of the houses, especially in my neighborhood, we didn't have doorbells. You knocked on the door. And back then in the area that I lived in, hardly anybody locked their doors. And if somebody came up, and a lot of times it was just my neighborhood buddies or whatever, you could almost time them. They'd knock at the door. And this is what we would say: come on in. The door's open. And we just never thought anything about it, but we live in different times now. And that is a sad situation. Again, a spiritual application to that is fear has drove people into their homes. And not only have they got a regular lock, they got a deadbolt, they got a chain. And nowadays, technology is where your doorbell has a camera on it. And when somebody, you know who comes in and who doesn't. But I'm thinking now, the spiritual application, again, as I said, is that people now more than ever so before, they seem like they've locked their door to letting God come into their life. In Revelation 3:20, he said, here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with him, and they with me. And so it is. God wants to open that door, and he wants to keep it open. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds. And to him, here it is, and to him who knocks, the door will be open. In closing today, the one who knocks, he said, the door will be open. He wants to come in, and as is shared, he wants to give you answers. He wants to give you directions in your life. But there are a lot of people like that old song years ago. The song's title was, I hear you knocking, but you can't come in. And that's what people said, I ain't got time for you, God. I don't want you to see into my life right now. My house, this house of clay is a mess. But I'm telling you, God's willing to come in and straighten your life out and help you clean your mess up if you'll just let Him. Come on in. The door's open. God bless you and thank you, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, Jake.
Come on.
Come on in, buddy.
The door's open.
Man.
Come on in.
Hey.